Okay, we're going to do a half-page mirror card. I don't remember doing that before, and because I just did that yesterday, I have all my stuff out, so I'm going to do a different version of it. I'm going to do it on the Stardream Blue Lapis Lazuli cardstock, and we'll see how that goes here. I haven't done anything with the Lapis Lazuli in a little while. It's always fun to work with the dark cardstocks, and doing so with the white pigments. So let's see. Let me turn my video down. I want to see this stream so I can see what people are seeing here. But anyway, let's see. Hello, Diana. Good to see you. I'm doing a half-page mirror card here. PJB Stamper, good to see you. I don't know if I've done a half-page mirror card before, but after doing the card from yesterday, okay, I've spray sealed it and whatnot. It occurred to me, I forgot some things, some aspects about mirror cards, and I think having a lot more contrast in this area up above looks better. I mean, it just reads better in the reflection, because we're not dealing with, an exact mirror. We're dealing with a piece of silver paper here. So I thought it would look a little bit, I wanted to do something a little bit more dramatic with that in mind. Hello, Cheryl. Hello, Beverly. So this, believe it or not, I think will be, I don't know, even though it's a half-page mirror card, I think it's going to be what could be considered a quick card, relative to its size, half page here. But working on the lapis lazuli, it's really easy to develop. I've already forgotten some things here. It's really easy to develop your light and shade and all of your different tones on a dark cardstock like this, just because it is, we're just dealing with basically black and white here. We can't use different colors on here. Maybe certain types of Brilliance inks, like some lighter blues, might work or something like that, but we're just going to keep it really simple and try to achieve the full value scale with white here, okay? So I'm always talking about the utilization of your different colors and especially your darker tones to achieve all the different values, going from a full saturation of, even black to a very light value incarnation of that black in a gray. But it's the same thing when you're working with white. You can apply a big, thick saturation of it and achieve almost an opaque, pure white, I don't know, maybe not completely, white, but, a pretty close version of it, 95% or something like that. All right, but using a lighter version of it over our darker cardstocks or darker papers, you should be able to achieve all kinds of different values of this because it's translucent and the dark colors are going to show through. Okay, so that being said, let's see here. I'm going to create a background on here, okay, using, let me get my correct Brilliance pad. One is for my cotton, Seaver cotton here, and that is going to be used for my different values. Okay, there's going to be a ledge down here, and I'm going to put this deer standing in front of a full moon, okay? So, what I like to do is I like to do some blocking out. Now, instead of just blocking out a whole area, what I like to do in certain cases is to create some kind of sky cloudy pattern. I've done this many times in my past videos and whatnot. But hello, Terry. And if I didn't say it, hello, Sandy. And I don't know, I've already forgotten who I said hi to. Cheryl, Beverly. I start thinking about the scenes and I forgot. It hasn't been so long since we saw each other, so I don't know. Okay, so just tearing a paper towel like this, you can do a cutout on a piece of paper if you want to, to kind of create a harder edge, kind of more stylized version of a cloud. You can use your cloud templates if you want to. What I do with this type of thing, though, I feel that this, this torn edge type of approach gives me a real kind of organic, I don't know, kind of somewhat natural looking texture, okay? Now, okay, this is what I do here. After I ink up my cotton ball here, I'm using the used cotton ball from yesterday because kind of the second use of it is usually the best because it's already kind of smashed in there. The ink is kind of past the surface. It's not so, linty or whatever, okay? After that, though, it kind of gets hard, a little bit hard, but going with this one from yesterday, okay? So what you do is you utilize it right next to the paper like this, okay, your paper towel. And that's going to be your thickest application of that ink. And then what you do is you taper it, okay? So a lot of times they're not used to the tapering. I didn't get a haircut, but I put a hat on. And, that's fine to ask. Ask whatever you want. I should get a haircut, though, maybe. Okay, so that's that right there. See that? How it kind of tapered like that? But that's not it, though. After you apply it, what you do is you taper it even more. You can take it, I don't have to have this on there the whole time, right? So what I'm doing is I'm utilizing this in a drier incarnation, and you bring it down. But here's the thing, though, okay? I'm also going to use this, and I'm going to use it above that template. I don't know what to call it. I'm just calling it a template. That template line there, okay? So let's see. Let's get in here a little bit more. And, okay, now here's the thing, too. Here's the thing that I've learned, too. Don't do it equally over the whole thing like that, okay? Make some areas a little bit more kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, kind of broken, So there's a thicker application going above the cloud here, less here, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you put it. Just, we're talking about variations. So here, see this right here, it's kind of softening it up. So what you get is this area, a little bit of a sharper line, and other areas, it's a looser line. So again, it's a nice variation. Look at this. I don't know what that is. So again, just kind of bring it down here. And see, I'm bringing it down here a little bit more like that, okay? So what this is, you don't have to be, not only do you not have to be kind of exact with this, but you're kind of rewarded a little bit more from, I don't know, kind of a looser kind of approach, a less maybe controlled and uniform application of it, okay? So that gets us off the hook, okay? We don't have to be exact and perfect and whatever. And I don't know, I think that's the way clouds tend to look anyways, okay? They may look, kind of perfect to our eyes or whatever, but they're not uniform or whatever, okay? Okay, let's see. Let's go with, we'll go down here again. Sometimes, I don't want the exact same outline there, so you can change this around like this, I mean, it's however you want. Okay, I don't want it too kind of pointed, though. Usually. So let's go with something like this now, okay? All right, let's get rid of this. And I'm going to have a rock down here. Okay, a ledge for this eventual deer to be standing on. Okay, let's go like this. Okay, now you don't have to go over the whole thing again either, okay? What I'm going to do is I'll just go like this, and then as I'm doing this too, so you don't need to tape this down or anything like this. I'm actually moving this as I go as well, okay? So it can be completely kind of a loose type of application of this, okay? You can do it very light. It doesn't have to be the same value as this one either, okay? You can do little wisps like this if you want to, okay? So you can kind of change your application method. You can go with a kind of more kind of circular approach to this. You know what I mean? It's really, really, I don't know, malleable in terms of, you know, the different approach you can use. My suggestion would be to, I don't know, vary it and use different types of applications for different looks. You know, there's maybe a little bit of wind over here. And, you know, I mean, if you took a time lapse of a cloud, it would be really kind of morphing, and there'd be different patterns, like in the wind patterns and whatnot in there. Okay, so there's a little bit of planning, though, with this. Okay, I'm going to use, where did it go? This deer like this, okay? So if this is going to be a black image, okay, in this space, I really want to make the area behind it a little bit lighter than the darkness of the lapis lazuli, okay? Because black on this, there's going to be so little contrast. So, you know, I'll probably put it like something like this here. So I'm going to add a little bit more white to that area, okay? I'll go like that, just for that contrast, okay? Hello, Jeannie. Hello, Jason. Typing faster than thinking tonight. Yeah. That reminds me, I gave my son like a kind of Red Bull type of drink. He's in high school. And I thought he might need a little bit of pickup because he'd stayed up kind of late studying the night before, something like that. And he said after drinking that energy drink at lunchtime, the next period he couldn't type because he was just too wired. You know, his fingers were kind of moving faster than, you know, I don't know, whatever the thought. So that completely reminded me of that. Okay, so see that right there? See, that's nice and varied. It's there's different values in there. There's different touches that were applied here. I kind of like that kind of wispy look there too. So that's what's fun about this. You know, you're dealing with wet ink right here. Okay, I mean, you know, it's a pigment ink, but it almost feels more akin to like dealing with a pastel or something like that. So there's this kind of I don't know, the kind of a dry medium feel to this. In a way, it's like dealing, you know, like chalks or something like that, or oil pastels or something like this. Okay, now this isn't an oil based pigment ink here. But most of them are, but it feels like that though. In fact, I thought Brilliance. I thought all pigment inks were all oil based until I read the back of this. You know, who reads the back of these types of things? But I read the back of it. It's like, oh, okay, it's water based. No wonder it's kind of a faster drying type of pigment ink. And then there's some kind of binder in there too that allows it to dry even faster than it just simply being water-based. Okay. All right, now I'm adding a little bit more tone down here than what I think would look good if it were just clouds. But again, I'm going to stamp this ledge right in here for that deer to stand on. Okay, so I need a little bit more of a contrast between the black image that's going to provide and that lapis lazuli right there. Okay, so that's that. Let me add in, I'm going to add in a moon for a little bit of a higher contrasty type of object to reflect down in my mirror area. I agree, Dan. Yeah, lapis lazuli, it's great. And lapis lazuli, and then it's iridescent to boot. So, kind of a, additional fun type of surface, or reflective surface. All right, so that deer is going to be right here. Planning out a little bit. Okay, it's going to be right here. I don't think I want that moon directly over the head. I'm going to put it a little bit off center, but okay, let me think here. Maybe not. Maybe I'll put it... I might have put this a little bit too high. Okay, maybe I'll go like this. It'll be coming over those clouds like that. Okay. Let's see. I utilize my scratch paper rather than just throwing it away, by the way. Okay, so let's put that about right here. It's going to be peeking out from over, from right over the cloud structure. Okay. All right. Is that where I want it? Let me put it right there. Okay. So, okay, now the moon is going to be a light source in the scene, right? So let's make that fairly light. And again, here's what I'm going to do too. I'm going to apply a little bit of a thicker application on an area of the moon rather than to make it completely uniform. Okay, it'll be largely uniform in terms of my application of white here, but I want a slight variation to it, okay? Like that, okay? See, I mean, I didn't, apply it right on that bottom portion right there. So, again, just like the clouds, you kind of vary things a little bit just for kind of a richness of surface when you have variation. So, I mean, this isn't like a design like the cloud or something like that, but it's certainly acting as an image. It's a player within this composition right here. So I'm trying to get some variation within that space. I mean, those clouds are going to be a significant part of this composition. Okay, so now that we know where the light source is going to be, what I'll do is on these clouds around my light source, I'll add a little bit of a thicker application of white, right? Because it stands to reason that those clouds would be kind of a lighter version of them, being so close to the light source. Relatively speaking, okay. All right. I mean, we can go in with some extra layers like this down here. If we want to, let's do that. Let's go in here like so. Did anyone ask any questions? No. Yeah. Star Dreams, the line. I don't know if it's the brand. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I started using my Stardream and foil, the other brands of iridescent papers, early 2021, when I remembered, Brilliance inks can be used on this type of paper. And then I had a big collection of iridescent and, the metallic types of papers. And I didn't even know it because my papers weren't really organized. I mean, I kind of, knew it a little bit, but I never organized my papers until like January of this year. But fully. But last year it's like, oh, here's a pack of lapis. Oh, and here's another pack of lapis lazuli or something like that, or like gold or something like that, where I'd be buying things like double. And I wanted to use them in a way other than just in matting my cards with, okay? Some of the stuff, I don't know if I had a ream of something, but, like a 25 pack of 8.5 by 11 sheets, so quite a bit of stuff, so hence, I don't know, this type of application right here, and the whole kind of foil type of usage, which led up to these kind of reflective foil cards. It seemed kind of a natural kind of, I don't know, whatever, experimentation, evolution, whatnot. Okay, so anyways, that is there. Okay, here's what I was thinking too. I was thinking about putting some clouds and having them bottom lit. These clouds underneath the moon are top lit. So if I wanted to do that, instead of going like this, right? What you do is you just flip it around and you're doing this, and you're doing that ink from the bottom and up, where right here you're doing it from the top and down to transition that light, right? A little bit lighter on the top portion where it's kind of exposed to the moon. The clouds above would be bottom exposed. All right, but here's what I'm thinking. I was thinking about, in terms of this mirror card, I'm not sure if it would be better if I just kind of left that open to have a little bit more contrast in here, okay? So there's that moon kind of reflected down there like that. I'm doing this on a half-page scene because I thought, I don't know, with these mirror types of effects like this, it might be better to have kind of a larger format. Oh, well, it might be kind of cool is to do this type of thing in a slimline card. So anyways, just looking at it like that. All right. Sometimes it's good for me to have my camera here because I can look at this on the screen here and see if I gauge if I need to make something a little bit lighter. Okay, so I've mentioned this all the time in my videos where I'm doing white on dark papers, but the white pigment inks, they just dry a little bit more translucent, okay, than what they might look like when they're freshly applied. I don't know why that's the case. It's like the opposite with dye-based inks. Dye-based inks, a lot of times they dry lighter looking on whatever cardstock that you happen to be using them on. Pigment inks, they tend to dry more see-through and thus darker. Because I wouldn't be using like white on a white piece of paper, okay? In order to see white, you have to put it over something that's dark. Okay, so that moon's a little bit lighter like that. And again, I'm doing that so that that'll stand out more in my reflected area, okay? Like that. See how that moon stands out a little bit more now? Like that in the reflection. I don't know. With this type of free-form cloud thing, I tend to think, excuse me, I think it looks a little bit more dreamy, when you do things like kind of in a free-form, kind of softer application like that. Okay, so let's get to the imagery. This kind of surprised me when I tried this before. I think I tried a dye-based ink, not over the top of white on lapis lazuli, but I think I tried dye directly onto lapis lazuli, and I don't know, it didn't dry really well for me, which I thought it would because this Star Dream, a lot of the Star Dream papers, I believe, are somewhat porous in, the surface area, but I don't know, they're obviously not because it didn't dry really well for me, especially the metallics like the gold and silver. So all Star Dream papers aren't created the same. So it depends on what color they are, okay? So if you ever kind of find a good combination and you switch colors from one to the next, don't necessarily think that they're going to be exactly the same. Sandy, the paper that I'm using, I don't know the brand. It's not like a known brand. I think I put a link to them in the description section of all these videos. I'm trying to think of what it was offhand. Craft. I don't even remember. It'll be in the description section. I got it because it's a 60-pack of full-size sheets, and they're really reflective and real kind of chromy. They have red and gold as well, but it was 60 sheets for, at the time when I bought it, it was about $17 on Amazon. Okay, now, uh, I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit cheap when it comes to certain types of media. Um, but I didn't know what this was going. I was just looking for metallic papers, and I think it was after I used the lapis lazuli or something like that. I wanted to see some other papers, and that one happened to come. Craft Lab? I don't remember. But it was 60 full size sheets for like $17, and there was a lot of other listings where it was like a 5 pack for $5. Okay, so for me, I just figured I could use this. I like kind of matting my pieces. Like silver would look really good for like winter scenes or Christmas scenes done in blues or something like that. So yeah, it's real. I don't know. It works really good for me. And like I said, it was the cheapest per sheet, but you have to buy 60, a pack of 60. But I don't know, even at, $17 or something like that for this, and this is really thick too. The Recollections foils are really nice too, but it's nothing like that chromy and mirrored that I could see out there. Okay, I'm holding this down a little bit longer down here just because I don't know. I probably don't need to, but I just want that make sure that ink transferred really well. Okay, now I'm just using a small portion of this because I'm going to have that deer up there, and I think the imagery that's closer to the intersection of the two pieces of paper tend to look, it looks the best in that meeting point, okay? As you move up like this, when you have this like this, like that, you see what I mean? The area above, in this area, the farthest reach, it doesn't read as much because it's farther away from the mirror, okay? Like this right here, the top of that doesn't even see, you can't even see it until you get like that, okay? So I want most of the imagery in terms of the reflection to be somewhat low in the horizon. That's one of those things I tend to, I kind of forgot about doing it yesterday. So, I mean, it looked okay, but I don't know. I want this one a little bit more dynamic. Okay, so filling in, like I said, if you just joined in, this is a half-page piece. Okay, so I'm just kind of filling in that edge right there, okay? So it goes like that. I'm going to put other trees in here, so I'm not really too worried about that. I just want to kind of continue that out a little bit, like so. And, all right, I got a really good impression with that. Those impressions look fantastic. Again, just over that, the white cloud application and over the top of the star dream. Okay, so again, this is this dark right here, but if I stamped it right over this alone, you wouldn't be able to see those textures in there as well. So that's why we put, we brought some of that white down into that area in the background like that. All right, so we are done with this one. Okay, let's see. This is a newer piece of tack and peel, but look how tacky that is. That is really difficult to take off. I think I just washed that not too long ago, but far enough, it hasn't been, it wasn't too recent that I did that. Just to show you how well tack and peel works. I had a hard time getting the, when you were working with new tack and peel or when you just wash it off, watch out when you peel your stamp off, okay? You don't want to tear the rubber. Now, rubber is really tough, okay? But like if you have a cut that you've trimmed in there or something like that, just watch out for that area. So don't just peel from the back and pull it up. Kind of, work it like this, then, kind of work it from the point of contact. Okay, little aside there. Okay, so that is that. Let's go on with some additional imagery right here. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Sandy, you have some of the recollections. Hello, Ruben. Yeah, the recollections are really fantastic. The recollections, though, the thing that I like about the Recollections packs, by the way, everyone, if you don't know, they are the packs that they have at Michaels. You can find them on Amazon too. I think they have a larger selection at Michaels itself, though, because I don't think I saw certain colors mail order, but then they do have them at Michaels. That being said, a lot of people say that their Michaels is kind of really, really picked over, one of those supply problems going on right now. All right. Before I do this, let's do some splatter painting, okay? Or I'm going to mix it up here. I'm going to do Snowfall on this one. Okay, if you're going to splatter paint up here, where you don't want it in front of your trees, then it's stars, okay? If you do this, then splatter paint, and some of that splatter paint gets in front of your darker imagery, then it's, something like Snowfall or something like that. All right, so that being said, let's put these trees a little bit on the other side of that rock, the ledge there. Okay. Oops, I didn't press hard enough right there. Okay, filling in like so, right? There's a lot of surface area to the stamp right here, so make sure you get plenty of ink in there. In fact, I might have to re-ink this. Let's see how it goes. Okay, let's go a little bit lower with another impression. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit of space in between these trees too. Just so you can see that contrast coming from in between them with the white clouds. Okay. All right. I guess I should stamp that deer there so I can kind of work some things around our, what would end up being the focal point. So let's do that here. I think if this scene was on just regular paper, I think what I would do is I would probably do the smaller version of this to really push depth in the scene. But because this is going to be a mirror scene where I want a lot more of a kind of a bolder reflection to be showing, I'm going with the larger version of it, okay? Not that the small one would be bad, but just kind of a larger image, I think, for that reflection. So we're kind of just pushing, we're pushing things, the bold aspect of it, the contrast with the, the lighter moon and whatnot. Okay, let's see. Just go like that. There's your mask. And let's see, we'll put this in relation to the moon. Like so. I'll use most of the stamp. I'm not stamping the exact bottom portion of the deer. So that looks like it's a slightly over that ledge. I mean, you could just stamp it right on in, but just to create a little bit of extra depth there, okay? All right, so that should provide us with a good reflection. I'm not done with the trees yet, but let me take a look and see how this is going to look here. Okay, like that, and there's our tree like that. Okay, see that nice reflection down there like that? It almost looks like, let me zoom out here a little bit, sorry. And there we have that water area like that. It's a real kind of glassy kind of look to it. I don't know. I think it tends to, when you do something like that too, with that mirror thing, to me, when I'm looking at that, it occurs to me, I think that it looks like a really silent kind of time, or at least in terms of, that you can tell there's like no wind because it's a perfect mirrored impression, right? There's no ripples in the water or whatnot. And that's kind of one of those things. You want something to be kind of real evocative in terms of your visuals so that kind of you can engage a little bit more of the, I don't know, your senses, All right, so framing off, going with another, okay, I'm going to stand up with this one here. I think I have some dry ink in the middle of this stamp right here too that I need to wash off so that it grabs that ink better. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Just stand up with your larger kind of bold images. Okay. And let's go with, how about another tree that's even farther off that ledge. When you're doing the tops of these treetops like that, what you're saying is there's a slope in the background too, so it kind of gives a little bit of a, I don't know, kind of the illusion of height here to the deer, that it has kind of walked up to that area. All right. Yeah, that's what we want there, right, Chris? Nice and ethereal. Hello, Froggy Fresh. I got some pigment ink on my tack and peel. That right there, you can just scrub right off with a sponge. Okay, so let me see here. Let's go for a little bit of a textural contrast, okay? I didn't know what I was missing for a long time with not having this kind of leafless tree. Now I use these all the time. I mean, it certainly looks more kind of natural, I guess, having those kind of dead trees in there like that. But from a textural contrast point of view too, it just makes things look more, I don't know, kind of full, I guess you can say. All right, go over here like so. All right, I'm going to avoid going with too much around that deer just so that it stands out a little bit more. So kind of have this off to the edges right here, kind of framing things off a little bit. And let's take a look at it again. It's like, I feel like I'm cooking something, where it's like you have to kind of taste it every step of the way or something like that. Because, you're taking into consideration that reflection aspect of it where we normally don't have to, right? Yeah, I think it looks better. So I'm doing this kind of for the reflection. It's like everything above, it's kind of like in the consideration of the reflection because that reflection is such a, significant part of the composition. For me, when I do these types of things, I'm probably, I don't know, I'm looking up here too, but, creating these scenes like this, I'm looking at I'm looking down here a lot more than I am up there. I think, I don't think it's 50-50. I think I'm probably looking at that reflected area more just because, it's kind of an unusual type of thing to have on a card. We don't usually have something like that in terms of our, whatever our card constructions. Okay, so that is that. Let me add in here some additional tone down here. Okay, so if the moon's right up there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some shading, okay? And we'll kind of emphasize the lighting, kind of, top lighting of these objects here, or the this kind of perch that they're on, or slope, or whatever, like that. And we will emphasize kind of lighting direction, or light being cast shadows, I guess, You can say like that. See that right there? It looks a little bit more three-dimensional like that. Okay. And see right in here, the moon is right here, so I'll add some shading right in here, okay? And what it does is it anchors the imagery from a visual standpoint. It gives it visual weight, but it also gives those objects some opacity. You know, you're saying that that rock isn't just see-through. You know, the clouds showing right through it, and the trees are casting a shadow. Now with the deer, I don't want to make this too dark right there, but what I'll do is I'll just take a little bit of this. I'll kind of narrow my application area of that ink, and I'll just add a little bit of tone from that deer. Now, the shadow probably wouldn't look like it. It'd probably be a little bit more elongated, but, you know, I'm not really going to, I don't know, whatever, stress about that type of thing right there. So anyways, so there is our lighting. See a little bit of a shadow right there kind of being cast by that. And I think it sets that deer into the scene a little bit more fully. All right. Okay, now, if you've watched my videos, you know I like to kind of add somewhat of a vignette around my pieces, and that's no different with something like this. You know, we have the lapis lazuli right here, which is already dark, but it's not black, so I'm just going to add kind of a little bit of a darker edge like this, corners, like this. I'm being careful not to smear that really wet impression like that, okay? So I'm going to transition this, just like I transitioned the white, you know, with lighter versions of it, more opaque versions and whiter versions. You do the same with the black like that. So you can see what I'm doing up here. It's going from kind of wet to dry like that, okay? So you just kind of stay in that area and really kind of taper that application of that ink, and then you'll get this nice transitioning dark to lighter. But it doesn't stand out that much because it's, you know, I'm putting black on something that's, I don't know, what is that, like a 80% gray or something like that, 90%. So it's just going for a little bit of a kind of a percentage change there. But I think it kind of caps off the composition really nicely. It kind of frames things off a little bit more. The deer in the middle of the road? No. But if that's what you see, then that's what it is. It's on the top of a rock next to a lake is what that represents. But I always say, hey, you know, we see what we want to see. I don't think you'd want to see that, though, would you? A deer in the middle of the road. Especially driving at night. When people ask me, which way are these ducks flying? Are they flying to the right? Or are they flying to the left? I can't tell. And I say, my usual answer, I don't know, for years was, if you can't tell, then it doesn't matter. Which is kind of true because I kind of draw them a little bit universal, okay? There is a way that I'm thinking about with something like that, you know. But they can be universal enough where you can utilize them both ways. And I don't think people are going to say, oh, wait a minute, that 1 millimeter, duck looks upside down or something like that. All right, so do you see that there? How that kind of framed off, or does it look a little bit more framed off like that? All right, let's hit it a little bit around here too. Let's totally kind of frame off the entire piece, okay? You can put some of the black over the white, it looks a little bit more gray tone and whatnot. Now, I'm not dragging in like this because we have those clouds there, okay? So I'm just kind of tapping it like this. All right. And this top portion, again, it's not going to be mirrored, so I'm kind of framing it off just for the sake of how this looks as a composition without the mirrored aspect of it. Paper towel and the cotton ball, Gene. That's all. That's all we need, and some inks and inks and paper, of course. But as far as the applicators go, but when you think about it, though, I mean, if you're going for a soft application of it, something, right? I don't know of anything that's too much softer than a cotton ball. Be it something that's kind of designed in theory for the purpose in which I'm using it. Most of those things I don't find them to be very, I don't know, useful in terms of those processes. So I think a lot of the things that we can find of use, it's just right in our right in our whatever supplies that we always have. The paper towel cloud template like that. So in a paper towel like that, you can have, I don't know, unlimited amounts of different cloud templates. And then you can use that cloud template, you crumple it up like that and use it as an applicator. All right, so anyways, there's the scene like that. Let's take a look here again. And then we'll get started on the bottom portion of it. The bottom portion, believe it or not, I mean, this piece right here, I mean, it's a fairly large one, a half-page thing like this, but they come together pretty fast, so. All right, so anyways, there, right there. Have a nice moon. Like I said, see, you don't even see that top portion of the lapis lazuli. So it's, I do that for the sake of just this top portion right here. But again, there we have it like that. Now let's frame off everything on the bottom portion, okay? So these things like this, because a lot of these images right next to the intersection of these two, different types of papers, I mean, you could go with a mirror thing up there. I've done mirror on mirror before too. Silver piece up here, silver down here. But I'm adding most of the things down at the bottom portion because those are the things that are going to be the most reflective in here. And then when you're doing something like this, these come together again pretty fast because you're only addressing the bottom portion of that bottom section because you don't want to have a bunch of things up here because they're going to obscure the imagery that's being reflected, right? So again, it makes for a pretty quick card, believe it or not. It's when this full page piece is going to be, laid flat, it's, the equivalent of a full page scene like that, but you're only working kind of like, I don't know, maybe the bottom thirds. The top one, got the cloud treatment, yeah, but this area down here gets a lot less, and my fingers are really nice and smudgy and oily, okay? Like so. All right, so we need to do some more blocking out. I brought some images over that are going to be fairly large, I thought, because I wanted this one to go pretty fast, and we have a lot of surface area here. Okay, but again, I'm composing as we speak. I don't plan these things out completely. Okay, so this is going to be right over here, I think. So I need to block this off again, because if I just stamp black on silver, you won't even be able to see this. So we need to lay down some white over here. Why don't we go with this down here like so? Okay, I'm thinking that deer is going to be reflected over here, right? So I can go with this right over here, maybe. How about something like this? We'll go 1, 2, and 3 like that, okay? So this is the most amount of planning that I ever do with my stamping, okay? Because we have to think in, kind of sequencing here and application, whatever ability. Okay, but it doesn't have to be perfect. If you watched my video from yesterday, you can see you just kind of wipe off the excess ink that you apply. All right. Not too late to the party, Tammy, you got to the good part of it right now. and then someone joins in like a half an hour later. I'd say you didn't miss anything, we're getting to the good stuff right now. Okay, so That rock is going to be roughly about right here. So you just go like this. And, oh, maybe, apply more than you think you're going to need, because you can always wipe off, right, any of the excess. Okay, so it's going to be something like that. This one is going to be down here, so it's like, I don't know, what is that, 2 by, or I don't know, one and a half by 2, or I don't know, something like that. Now, if you end up stamping this out and it's like, oh my God, I didn't put enough white down, it's, it doesn't have to fill up an entire image, so don't worry about that at all. Okay, we're just kind of getting the general areas of these images that we're going to be using. Okay, yeah, let's go about right about here. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm using just different portions of the same stamp so that it doesn't look so repetitive. It is, but we don't want it to look that way. Hello to your cat. Okay, something like that. All right, I think that is good. All right, now on the lapis lazuli, I didn't bother heat setting before I stamped my imagery down. With the foil being a lot less, or non-porous, okay, we do have to heat set this, I think, okay? I think that if I went wet into wet, it would just, I would go like this and it would just, a lot of that ink would just come off kind of like a vacuum or whatnot. All right, so, okay. Brilliance ink again. Heat set. I was thinking about your cat, Froggy. One little tip, I don't know if it makes a big difference, but see, this is kind of naturally curling like this. And then when I'm heat setting it, it's going to go even more. Okay, so when I'm heat setting, sometimes what I do is I counter bend it like that. Okay, and then I start heat setting. When I come up here, it's kind of, I'm just doing this type of thing, just so it doesn't go crazy, I mean, it's easy enough to kind of uncurl a little bit like that, but the less you have to do, the better. All right, so let's go with the impressions here. Okay, now I'm guessing I'm going to be using about half of the image, roughly about, and it's like 55% or something like that. Okay, but don't ink up kind of 55%. Ink up a little bit more than you think you'll need, just in case you use a little bit more, then you won't stamp that out and have a big area or an even small area of that image missing, okay? Yeah, I mean, if I'm using like, the top ½ inch or something like that, I'm not going to ink up the whole, 3-inch height of it or something like that. But, ink up usually more than you think you'll need. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can get a really good impression on this as we did the lapis lazuli. I'm standing up again. Let's see. Okay, I'm allowing that ink to transfer here. Yep, and that looks pretty good. And see that excess area right above the rock, we'll just wipe off, okay? We'll heat set this black imagery, and that white will just come right off, okay? Let me see, did I take my own advice? Did I ink up enough of this? Let's see. Right here. Okay. And let's go right here. One of the things that I did on foil one time, I mentioned this yesterday, but when you lay down this white pigment ink like that and you dry it, the Brilliance ink, I tested out if I could stamp dye-based ink impressions over the top of it. Not with black, but I did it in color it was an aspen type of scenario with green, yellow leaves. And it stamped over the top of the white, dried Brilliance ink just fine. I had wondered if it would work because that dried white pigment ink almost gives you kind of like a matte paper kind of surface that, Brilliance pigment inks are thick, so it gives you a little bit of a depth too for the inks to kind of penetrate and get absorbed in a little bit. And I don't know, I was pretty shocked and pleasantly surprised about that. All right, so there's your rocks there in the water, okay? And anything else that you want to stamp, on this type of area that you want to stand out when making dark black impressions, remember just to add it to this piece before you stamp out your rocks. I'm kind of looking at this as trying to make an assessment if I want to add any more. I think I do here. Let's add a little bit more white ink down here. I'm going to use this other Rocks and Leaves stamp. All right, so let's just add this down like so. Okay. Heat set. I'm running out of space here. We'll heat set the dark black imagery while we're at it here too. This scene is going to make a little bit more kind of visual sense to from yesterday's because I used a lot of color up in the top portion of the scene yesterday, but in the this scene, this card construction is just going to be the black and whites. Okay, so that is that, and let's go with the Rocks and Leaves here. My face got cut off on the camera now. Oh. Let's see. I don't know, am I on there now? I don't know. Well, I was standing up though, Jeannie. All right. Okay, Rocks and Leaves right down here in that corner area. Let me see something. Oh, okay. I was checking to see if I was still cut off. Not that I need to see me. I don't even want to, but... all right. Adding it down here. Like that. Let's go with a couple impressions down here. Like so. All right. You can come in here like that too, but I don't want to obscure what's going on in that reflected area. Okay, so let's see. This is actually kind of fun right here. I'm talking about, removing that white. Unlike embossing, embossing, it's really fun watching the transformation of like a embossed image kind of melt and, get nice and shiny and raised, from that powder form. But heat setting the black imagery right here, I mean, it's still a decent image, but it becomes less, it's not as dark and rich a black anymore. But, when you spray seal, the pieces, it will get a little bit. Let's do a little comparison right here. Okay, so I don't know if you'll be able to tell this, but this is yesterday's. Okay, so that is the imagery that I've spray sealed down there. You can't even tell, I think, in the video right here, but it does get darker when you spray seal this, okay? And if you weren't on yesterday, we talked about spray sealants a little bit, but what I use is just, your typical Krylon type of spray sealant, acrylic sprays. Well, maybe you can, I'm looking at there's like a 10-second delay in when I'm doing this. I guess you can tell a little bit, that black is a little bit darker, but I have darker imagery on that, used. So, okay, so anyways, let's go into this and see this right here? See that area with that white going outside of the image? You can just go in like that and wipe it right off, okay? Comes off with just my finger like that, okay? So anyways, let me see, am I working on screen? That. it's like eraser work or something. You see all my smudgy fingerprints in here too. All right. It's like a great little habitat in there for I don't know, whatever, some trout or bass or bluegill, whatever. Okay, so that is that. I don't try to get off, everything off completely. I mean, you could. It's just going to takes a little bit, a couple extra seconds or something like that. But you can just remove it like so, and it's ready to go. I won't try to get in between here too much, But like I said, you could get, some of that off. That. And that imagery, to me, that imagery looks fairly, I don't know, it looks fairly three-dimensional. It almost looks like I stamped it on a piece of white paper and just, glued it to the surface of that, doesn't it? But I mean, this is just like so much easier just to lay that white down, just in a whatever excess, and then just to remove it off like that. It just, you don't have to do any extra cutting or anything like that. I didn't have to cut out extra images or something like that and paste it down, but you certainly could do something like that. Yeah, it does come off easy. Grilled cheese sandwich for PJB Stamper. That sounds pretty good. I was thinking about grilled cheeses the other day. And Hershey Kisses for dessert. Okay, so, and yes, someone's mentioned it comes off really easy, and it does. Okay, now this foil like this, it's really super mirrored and non-porous. The Brilliance inks, I mean, not the Brilliance, but the Recollections foils, it's a little bit different, okay, because they're quite a bit more textured and porous, okay? I mean, it probably would come off, but I'm not exactly sure, okay? So, just keep that in mind. Not all foils are the same. Okay, so let's see. How about a little bit of extra imagery in there, but let's tone this in. And, believe it or not, we're almost done here with this piece. After, with the imagery, we just have to, build our card, the construction of it, okay? All right, so these totally look out of place right now because there's no shading in them at all, right? Just like I want to match the top portion in terms of kind of the lighting that's happening within the piece. So what we'll do is we'll just top light everything by bottom, adding that shading to the base of it, okay? So standard types of applications with this, or, what I call standard with pigment inks, is you don't want to come into it with too thick of an application, okay? So let me see here. All right, so I'm just doing a light application of it right down here, okay? Do you see that as it starts to build that tone up from, it's like a 5% gray or something like that, right? And you just add it in very lightly, okay? You get your application values, transitioning values through repetition, right? I mean, you could go in with just a real slathering of black and go like boom, want to go for something like a real kind of a, I don't know, kind of a expressionistic approach. But if you want a real controlled and varied application, then just take it really nice and slow. But see now that rock, see how it looks different from, these ones on the other side, right? It's kind of being top lit now because I've added a lot of this tone, to the lower area of it. So where'd that image go? Here it is right here. So I already have kind of some bottom shading in here through the stippling process of, designing. So I'm adding this tone down here, and I'm adding more of it down here. And then as I move up, I'm using a lighter kind of touch, or I'm just, doing less taps of it, okay? All right, so that being said, when I first start applying it, I almost can't see anything, okay? It's like if I do one tap, I'm not going to be able to see anything at all, okay? That's where sometimes people get kind of impatient with it. The way they go like this, and there's barely any application, so they go like this, and it, they want to see it happen faster, just like with, other types of media that we're using. But if you just kind of do, and it doesn't take forever. Something like these rocks down there, I don't know, what is that, like 10 seconds or something like that, 5 seconds. Here's this whole rock right here, okay? And I'm adding it. Now this goes like this, okay? I'm just doing this so you can see it easier and so I can reach it easier. But see this right here? This rock right here? I'm adding more of it down at the base, okay? And then as I move up, I'm just doing less taps of it. Then I'll go down to the base again and add more of it. Come up like that. So you have these series of kind of top lit objects like that now. And also it's kind of framing off the scene when you, kind of add those darker corners like that. Left and right corners like so. Okay. That. Let's go down here and see this rock right here. Go like that. Adding more shade at the base. And see, I'm just tapping in the same area. I'm kind of moving a little bit too, like that. I'm kind of using my fingertip like that. It's almost like using I feel like I'm tapping like this with some ink, like finger painting, because I just have a little tiny layer of cotton right there. So go like that. And yeah, you have some kind of nice shaded rocks that are being somewhat top lit, right? Okay, so these rocks right here are casting a shadow. Let's add in some black tone directly onto that silver foil paper like that. Let's create some shadows like that in here. Okay. All right, let's bring in a little bit of tone from the perimeter too, just to kind of frame off the scene in the bottom portion, just like we did with the top. We kind of put that vignette around there. on the outside edge. Remember, on that one I came in like this, but on this one I'm not going to streak in like that. I'm just going to kind of tap some tone about like so. I'm really curious to see what this is looking like right now. I can't wait to take a look here now that we have the objects down here. Oh, here, let's add in a little bit of extra texture too. Let's see. $2:45 a.m. for Glenda. Thanks for dropping in, Glenda. Good night. Sweet dreams. Okay, so this is just some rocks and water here, okay? All right. And let's see. So we'll have some solids in here too. Kind of some rocks sticking out of the water in the shallows. Okay. Go over here. Oh, let's add in some smaller ones too for a change in scale. But just little textures, okay? Can you even see that? Like that. Oops. Totally slid with that one. Watch out when you're stamping on foil with thick inks like pigment inks, okay? Is that when you go like that, it's easy to kind of slip like that. All right. So that is that. All right. I do think I want... Well, let's take a look here. I was thinking about some trees down below here too, but let's take a look and see how it's looking now. Like that. Fairly three-dimensional, huh? Like that. Making my assessment. Maybe a little bit more shading on the rocks. What do you think? The rocks look a little bit too illuminated for me. But hey, you can always add, you can always add more tone, but look at that right there. This is the moon type of scene is the thing that gave me the idea. I wanted to do this, one of those things where you do those pull tab things where you have a moon rising, but I thought, let's add the foil down here because when you're doing this, I mean, the moon isn't rising, but it's moving as someone opens the card up like that. But, I don't know, I think that's fun stuff. Maybe I won't add any trees in the foreground. I think I'm just going to leave it like that, just so I don't block off anything that's happening right in that area. Okay, but I do think let's add a little bit more of a tone to the these rocks right here. I think there's just a little bit too light. Okay. So let's go like this. Every time you re-ink it, kind of, blot it off a little bit. It kind of flattens out the cotton too. And it gives you an idea of how much you're going to be applying with your, whatever, with each tap that you do. All right, so that is that. And let's go over here a little bit more. If you ever smudge anything too, remember, you just take a paper towel and it'll wipe right off. You saw how it even wiped off with the white, even after it was heat set. It's one of the, I don't know, I guess it's one of the, what can be considered a weakness, right? But what's a weakness in some sort of application, whatever ability, is also a strength, because for us, it gives us the ability to, oops, I think I'm out of focus here. gives us the ability to go in and edit. You know, there's no point in time when you can't change things or I don't know, whatever, repair something if something doesn't come out the way you want it to. This whole area can just be wiped, you know, wiped clean at this point in time still. So never a bad thing to be able to kind of make, you know, like drastic adjustments, you know, to our surfaces. What other surface can you do that? Or whatever kind of media surface combinations can you do that with? All right, so that is that. I'm not quite done though, because I'm thinking about, I was mentioning yesterday how I like those quote stamps, like right on the water, okay? Because it looks real three-dimensional to me. So let's do some little bit of house cleaning right here and clean this up. As I'm holding this down, I'm getting another fingerprint right there. Maybe I should do it like this. It's kind of like buffing it out, huh? It's like, you know, we're like polishing a car or something. Okay. Let's see. I was going to do that lake as a lake is, I don't remember the full quote. I'll have to read it after I stamp it. This one's too long for me to read upside down. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. Where's my... You got to save all these little plastic pieces here on your tack and peel. Keep track of it. All right. And this is going to be stamped out in white, okay? The silver, when it's reflecting like a big glare of light, you know, becomes that big glare of light. But by and large, the silver looks, you know, when we're looking at most angles, under most situations, it's going to look dark, okay? All right, so let's see. Brilliance pad. Brilliance cotton pad. Brilliance white impression pad. Okay. All right. Hey, I need to figure out where I'm going to stamp this out now, because we have to take into consideration the reflections, right? I don't know if I want it going over the deer too much, or I don't know, maybe it would look pretty cool like that. But let's see here. Okay, so we have this. The deer is going to be like that. I think the quote stamp might look good, like right over here. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I don't want it to obscure like the head, right, you know, that deer at all. So will the black ink wipe off as easily as the white? It doesn't come off quite as easily as the white. The white, you know, to me is the easiest thing that you know, to come off. This is cherries and honey. This is lapis lazuli, Star Dream, and this is silver foil down here. So anyways, just trying to make an assessment right here of the quote stamp. Okay, I don't want it too far off to the side, but far enough. And as I'm blabbing away, I couldn't remember if I've heat set this. Let's heat set those rocks. Okay, and the quote stamp, I'll be able to read it when I stamp it out. It's too long for me to, but it's about a lake. Okay, let's see. I'll get this as straight as I can. All right, remember, if I get this completely crooked, so far I've been reasonably lucky, knock on wood, to get these quote stamps fairly straight, but, if, you know, in like live streams. But if I don't, hey, it wipes right off. Oh my gosh, this text right here is really small, so be careful that you don't over ink with, these thick pigment inks, right? So you want to get a nice even application. Let me do a test print on something right here. Oh, I forgot about the Snowfall. We'll stamp the quote first. Okay, a lake is the landscape's most beautiful and expressive feature. It is Earth's eye looking into which the beholder measures the depth of his own nature. Henry David Thoreau. That's a pretty good one for this scene, I think. It's like looking into something. It's the Earth's eye, right? We can have this reflection here, so I don't know. I think it's pretty fitting. All right, this pad right here is fairly new, so I do need to watch out for this one. I'd probably be better off using my kind of drier pad because it's kind of, that white might be filling in some of these letter forms. Okay, so let's see here. Matching up. Okay. So that is like, let's go about right here, okay. Excuse my head and hat. I think I moved it slightly because I felt like when I made contact, I moved it a little bit, so it might be blurred. But let's take a look. Sometimes I'm pleasantly surprised. Okay, I'm going to hold this down too, just in order to let that ink set up a touch. It's not setting up a lot, okay, but just a little bit more than just stamping it down, pulling it right off, and it creates that vacuum, especially for such small, delicate letter forms and whatnot. When we're dealing with a large, tree or something like that, who cares, if it stamps that all the way. Okay, I'm a little bit crooked right here. But the print is not too bad. The impression. Let me show you what that looks like. I love these white impressions in the mirrored area. I think I'm just going to go with that one. It's slightly crooked, but I don't know. The quote's not about perfection. It's Earth's eye looking into which the beholder measures the depths of his own nature. Well, I'm not perfect, so it's measuring my nature here. Okay, but here it is. But look at that. See that? It's like right on the surface of that water like that. And I like that look a lot. Here. Oh, here. Let me zoom in right here. I forgot. It doesn't focus in real well. But look at that. So you can see these rock areas down there, the cloud in the background. Look at that. Doesn't it look real three-dimensional? It looks like it's floating in air, right? On that mirrored surface. So, I don't know. I love that. And it kind of reiterates the idea of water, too, being a mirror like that. And real glassy. So, I don't know. We work all that time, and here the funnest part is like doing that last little step like that. For me, for me, I love text, that marriage of text and visuals. So, I don't know. I like that little type of thing like that. Okay, so let's try something right here. Let's add in a little bit of extra texture. Okay, before I forget to, let me heat set that. Okay. Yeah, it does. It looks like the trees are under it, huh? Floating. It's like the letters are floating on the water surface, right? All right. Let's see. Counterbend a little bit. I should lay down, when I lay this down like this, I think I'm going to get like a piece of tracing paper or something like that when I format this and put this card together. It's either that or I'm going to do that off screen. I really like this. Hey, I don't know what time stamp we are on this scene, but you can put these things together really fast. If you look at my video on using the top portion, I just did photo stamping instead of doing the clouds and something like that. You can start off with that photo print of a cloud that I did. Stamp the imagery in there. You can do a little bit of shading if you want to. Put that piece of silver down below, a couple impressions, and then do a word stamp. I mean, I think I did that one project, the fastest one might have been 25 minutes, something like that. And, I mean, it's the equivalent of kind of like a half-page card, too. But I think a super dynamic piece for, the amount of time spent. So you kind of cheat a little bit because that silver paper is reflecting what's going on in the top portion. So you don't have to do, a full, second second half of a scene because the top scene is reflecting a large portion of that area down below, right? Okay, so just going for a little bit of extra texture here. I'm going with my Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White if I didn't mention it, okay? Loading up in the front portion of my toothbrush here. And then the most important part is kind of wringing out some of that paint, or a lot of it. Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White is an opaque white watercolor, all right? Okay, I think that's all I'll need. I might splatter some on that silver portion too, I'm not sure. I might go kind of minimal with it. All right, let's see what we can do here, okay? It's like first snow, the snow's not all over the trees or anything like that. But it is giving us a little bit of extra texture and contrast, certainly in the darker areas. And let's see, I don't know if you can even see it. I hope you can. All right. So I see I have 1 star for each one of my birthdays I've had. Okay. Let's get it a little bit down here too. I'm going to go minimal, and I don't want it over I certainly don't want it over my text here, okay? So let's see. Let's cover that up like this, all right? I won't go too much in here because that's the area where that's the most reflected. I'm doing this right here. You know how I like to add in foreground in scenes? This snow or splatter painting is kind of a foreground. It's something that's very close to us when we're doing it this way. If we're doing it up in the sky, it represents something farther off in the distance, but it is a three-dimensional element in the scene in that it's, I mean, it's not sticking off the bottom of our, card too much, but it is a little bit. So from a textural standpoint, it's a really easy kind of way to add a lot of pop into the areas of your card that might not be kind of as interesting without that little extra texture and contrast in those areas. So there's a little areas right in here, right there, right around the edges like that. Okay, and here we have it right there. I mean, I guess I didn't need to. I could have just avoided those trees if I wanted to, but I do like that texture, over the front of the trees a little bit. I don't think it's going to read in the reflection. I think it's just too subtle, but again, just from a textural standpoint, it's, it's little subtle little things like that. People are going to get a card like this from you, and they're going to be holding it, right up to them. So, all right. So, anyways, there we go again. A little bit of added textural bonus in there. So, I don't have this glued down, so I don't want to close this too much yet. I don't really completely close this too until I spray seal it, because I don't want it all kind of rubbing off, because it is somewhat fragile. But after you spray seal it, it's not. I don't see it as anything too fragile. But I think that kind of that aspect of it is kind of a small price to pay for it. Something that can be, provide a fairly dynamic look to it, like that. So see these rocks like this? What's really cool about these rocks right here, see that cloud isn't in those rocks, but then when you go like this, it kind of moves at a different pace. What was it? Parallax. But, yeah. Okay, so let's see if we can format this without completely obliterating what we've done. I'm just joking, but this portion down here, I just want to be careful about that. Don't have to be too careful. The lapis lazuli portion of it is fairly, this is fairly set on here, unless, my black ink is still wet or something like that. Okay, so, by the way, what I did was I just, I got a piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock here. Mine happens to be on that dark glossy cardstock here. You can use whatever, though. Something fairly stiff, probably. And I don't know, I scored it, and then I folded it over like that, okay? All right, thank you, Sherry or PJB. You mentioned, yeah, I'll spray seal it, and yes, we will spray seal. Not in this video, though. All right. Oh, here we go, right here. Okay, so I'm going to be slightly mindful, more so with the silver portion of it. When I use this, I'm going to use a little bit less pressure. My delicate tape application right here. Slightly more delicate than what I normally do. Oops. All right, half page scene. Let's go for an extra little bit like this. Boy, that fresh tape in there, put in there yesterday, is real sticky. All right. Okay, some of that black ink in there is still wet, so I need to be a little bit mindful about that. I guess that's a good reason to go dark on this, is because I'm not getting my dark smudgy prints all over this. Well, I am, but you can't see it. Okay, so here, this is going down here, and remember, if you were on here yesterday, I said leave a little bit of space, okay, from that intersection of top scene and bottom, whatever, reflection foil. Okay, so go like that. All right, and like that. You can see where this is a little bit kind of smudgy right here. That's from where I laid down that tape like that. Okay, so it just comes to show you that Brilliance ink, even when I heat set it, I just heat set briefly though. I didn't heat set a lot, okay? It is still slightly moist. And I like to let it kind of dry naturally too, air dry. So you can see a little bit of it down here. I mean, if I want to really heat set that, I can, but kind of heat setting further, it could make the paper curl more, where if you just kind of allow it to air dry, and it will air dry, okay? You won't get that curl happening. Now, I couldn't avoid it with this because I had to, I was stamping in layers where I had to really heat set something fully in order to be able to stamp over the top of it. Okay, so here we go with this one. I should spray seal, but we won't. Okay, so I'm going really lightly here, like this. Oh, PJB Stamper, thanks for joining in. I'm sure they already left. Okay, there we go. Hopefully I didn't lose all of... look at this, I lost a lot of the perimeter black, okay? But after I get it, you know, laid into that piece, I can just, you know, apply more black, right? But do you see where all that is right there? Okay, so again, as I put this in here, I'm going to leave a little bit of a gap in between those two spots. Can you see that right there? So don't do it flush, as in way that it's hard to close the card, okay? All right. So go about like so. I gotta be careful where I press into this paper, this foil. Okay. All right. I'm going to go fairly delicately right here. Maybe I won't brayer. I'll brayer as needed. If this isn't, if it's not flush, then I'll just brayer. Okay, that's flat enough there. Okay, so see this right here. I could have went a little bit closer. Oh, you know what I might do? I might take a pen and color in that area right there with black ink, right? Maybe I'll try to do that right now. And that way, you know, you'll get the benefit of it folding just fine, but not, you know, having that line in there. Okay, so let's go in with a little bit of added... I'm losing all my applicators here now. Where did my other black? Here we go. This, and we'll reapply that in here like so. I've removed some of the black ink in there, but that vignette is still in there. I don't know if I really need to do this. Okay. And remember, I'm kind of doing this right here for the sake of this live broadcast right here. I could just allow it to dry, heat set it, and then go in there and do this afterwards. And it would be better. If I was just doing this on my own too, I would just, I'd go and wash my hands off a little bit more frequently too, so they're not so oily. Okay. All right, so let's see here. Let's take a black pen, okay, and I'm going to get rid of that line in there a little bit. The base of that scene right there is pretty well black anyways, so we're seeing a new technique implemented here, because sometimes I've had to kind of force the closure of the card just to get it to close a little bit more comfortably. All right, now you don't need to get this whole thing. I'm just kind of, instead of having like 1/8 of an inch down here, it's more like 1/16 of a little white gap. Okay, let's see. This is just a regular, I don't know, permanent marker. There, repaired. I'm a little bit off over here too. I think what I'll do is I'm going to trim this again just to make it a little bit more flush. But I'm not going to do that right now because everything's a little bit too wet. But let me just add this in like so. Actually, this might be better just to fill it in like this with the pen. And here's this little space down here. It's the permanent marker framing technique right here, if you haven't heard of that. Okay, so there we have it right there. Let's take a look at this and see what we have here. Okay, so I can close this a little bit more. Remember, it's a little bit wet, so I'm not going to close it completely. I would put something out here. I think what I would do is I would do like a little scene, like something like this, you know, and put it out here. Maybe we can do it even in, like, and frame it, you know. What would be good is we do something like that and just like an element, like a, I don't know, lake or something like that, and then put a little bit of that silver around that and then mount it right here, okay? So something, I would do it, you know, something very simple, like some small element from the scene maybe. And then as they open it up, of course, you know, it's much more of a, you know, kind of a big impact. If you have something kind of loud on the outside like that, it kind of diminishes the contrast to someone opening it up and having kind of a bigger, kind of a contrasting experience like that. But I don't know, you can put whatever you want though. That'd be kind of neat. Or you can do maybe like a small deer or something like that, you know, on a little bit of a ledge like that again. That would be kind of interesting. Maybe just do it in black and white with that, like I said, with that framing on it. Okay, so anyways, why not tape the card bottom? That sounds like it takes more time, Sherry's honey. Cherries and honey to me. I don't know, see like that, like that. I don't know, I can't even see it. But like I said, you can trim this off right there too. You know, it would be taken off like a 16th of an inch around the perimeter, and then it would be really flush like that. So anyway, what do you guys think? It's pretty, this is my first half page card. And I think it's, I don't know, I think it's pretty cool having kind of a more, you know, a stronger kind of reflected area than the, you know, the standard quarter page scene. There's that moon. That moon's staying fairly light and opaque, isn't it? Um, you know, in terms of it being kind of lightest scene, lightest object in the scene in terms of a light source like that. But I'm kind of debating on whether or not to kind of add a little bit of a kind of a glow to some of these stars or something like that, or to add some larger ones. I don't think I am, though. I don't want to detract, I think, from this right here by having kind of additional textural variation up here. I just want this to be kind of like that. This area up here, if I was just doing this top scene, this would be a perfect spot for a quote stamp. But being that it's, you know, reflected down here, you know, we have the reflection. I really like that floating quote stamp in there right on the surface like that. So I don't know. Like I said, I think these cards tend to look, you know, fairly diorama-ish, you know, and three-dimensional, with the end result, you know, especially when we're just dealing with, you know, a two-dimensional card. I love three-dimensional type of pop-up cards, you know, that people make, and all those different types of constructions. But this is a way to do it kind of just from a strictly a visual kind of illusion. I don't know, kind of in an illusion, whatever process or whatever, and not having to actually go three-dimensional. Although, I mean, it's three-dimensional having this at a 90-degree angle, but, you know, actual work not having to do three-dimensional applications to papers and things like that. I don't know, it's kind of cool to be able to do that. And again, it's just with the silver paper. So I have a lot of these different types of cards like that. Not all. I've probably done. This is probably like my sixth or seventh mirror card or something like that. But if you're ever curious to see other types of applications and some quick card applications, check out the playlist metallic cards, okay, or metallic papers or something like that, and you'll see some different types of applications of this kind of construction here. I mean, it's just, this is, as far as like a card construction though, don't you think that this is like the easiest card construction of any card construction you can possibly do? You know, just pasting one type of paper up here and putting that silver foil down there. Silver foil again, your Brilliance inks are the things that are required for that. In terms of the toning in, especially this white one right here, we might be able to tone in with the white one and then again stamp out our impressions in the StazOn ink, okay? But if you want to do things like that shading on there, the Brilliance ink is the way to go. StazOn would just dry instantly upon, tapping it right down on the paper like that, so yeah. Yeah, Carolyn, I agree. I think this is a really dynamic card, to receive. And if you didn't tell someone about that and they just kind of thought, what the heck? There's like nothing on this card. And then they opened it up, like that. I think that's a really good experience, especially if you're giving it to someone that's, a card maker, another card maker or whatnot. I don't think that, I don't think they would have, seen something like this before. And it's not like some kind of, a construction that requires a lot of, processes or instruction or whatever. This is like black and white ink with two different types of papers like that. And, the different imagery in there, of course. But I don't know. Like I said, look at the other samples that I did. I did some really quick applications of this. And one of the most dynamic ones for me is just stamping on that photograph of some clouds above, and I had the Lakeside Cove kind of half stamped on that portion and half stamped below, a couple impressions in the foreground, and that was it. So it makes, and that the card construction itself really makes up for it. But do you see some of those little white, okay, I'm showing a lot of my little smudgy fingerprints in here, but I got to be careful right here because I'll wipe off some of the little white splatter paintings in here, but I don't know, can you see that those reflections of that or not reflections, but that snowfall in there too. So it makes for pretty cool little added texture on there, especially like that. Like I said, you can't really see it, those little stars being reflected down here, but just in terms of the scene itself, like that, and then the white like that. So anyway, Jeannie, thanks for watching. What kind of sealant do I use? I use the Krylon sealants. I don't have it here in my desk here, but it's typically the for something like this, I would go with probably a gloss spray. So I like the UV resistant clear gloss, okay? And Krylon makes all kinds of different things. They make the crystal clear, which can probably be found at like a hardware store. And there are other types of sprays, sealants, but I don't know. I just use the UV. It doesn't cost really any more than the regular art sprays and whatnot, but I figured it might have a little bit of extra UV protection in there. Not that I would put, like scenes, here's the other one. If people didn't see this from yesterday, but here's a colored scene like that. But that extra UV, if someone has your card on display, maybe it helps it out a little bit from fading and whatnot. So yeah, this one right here, I spray sealed this afternoon, so you can see how glossy and kind of reflective it is up top there like that. So. And I will spray seal this one. I don't know, this one right here, but like I said yesterday, I kind of forgot that you know, kind of having a lot of contrast might be a little bit more effective in terms of the mirrored look like that. So I kept it kind of minimal in back of that deer. There's a nice silhouette of the deer. You know, I don't have like a mountain and trees and, you know, stuff like that in the back there. And I think that kind of creates a little bit more of an effective mirrored kind of experience like that. And see these extra little rocks down here, you know, kind of in that foreground like that. You know, it's a little bit of an extra kind of something in addition to that that can it creates that motion against the reflection in there to make it look a little bit more, I don't know, what uh, deep or whatever space, you know, the space kind of, you know, becomes that parallax type of thing, you know, things move at a different rate the closer they are to you like that, you know, than that axis point in the background like that. So it's just that fun little touch like that. And look at the, see, even like these little trees like this, these trees like that, I think maybe someone mentioned it, you know, that quote right above those trees like that, it just makes that quote stamp in there really float on the surface like that. It's like ice or something, you know? Yeah. Sandy, glad you were able to catch it live too. Um, I'm not a tape person. I just don't have it. Tape, but someone gave me the name. I forgot what it was, but I loved the way they framed off their piece. It wasn't a mirror card, but it was with that like gold tape or something like that. I really like the look of that. I just don't have it, but they gave me the name of that tape that they use. I don't know what's it called, but I do like that though. So, yeah. Okay. So, anyways, thanks to you all for joining in on the creation of this piece right here. The pen worked out pretty good. So you don't have that big gap of white in between those two areas like that. I hadn't thought about using the the Sharpie pen like that, or the, I don't know, that one was an Amazon one, but you know, that took care of that. So like I said, this folds up really nicely, and I'll, you know, give it a better fold once I spray seal this and everything's dry too, and this thing will close much more effectively like that. But you just kind of leave it open like this and allow it to dry, and you know, it should be dry by tomorrow, no problem. If you're in a very arid area, it probably dries like within an hour, just air drying or whatnot. But again, I mean, you could heat set this if you were in a hurry. But again, you know, when you're heat setting something like foils or something like that, it could kind of bend or whatever, you know, it warps a little bit and you just kind of have to counter bow it out of there. So, yeah. Glad you are all able to join in. Thanks as always. Thanks as always for subscribing too. I'm guessing, you know, you have to be subscribed to the channel to get the notification that I'm doing these lives like this without any kind of prior notice. Yeah, I'll schedule these things one of these days, but I don't know. It's most of the times it's just me kind of saying, I want to do this. I'm going to do it right now, you know, whenever I have time. So glad that you're able to join in, and I don't know, it makes it a little bit more fun for me to do these too. It reminds me of a live demo, even though I can't see you and talk with you. You know, I can read what you guys are posting, so always fun stuff. So again, thanks again. Drop me a note with any questions or whatnot, and I'll, you know, later on in the replay when I have time, you know, after dinner or whatnot, I'll list everything that was used in here. But you know, I have the listing for things like this silver foil noted in all of the previous silver foil pieces that I've done, including the mirror cards. So yeah. All right. So anyways, thanks so much for joining in. Do penguins have knees? Good question. I don't know. See, I wouldn't be thinking about something like that if I was just stamping alone, so yeah. Good night, Sandy. Glad you like the card, Cherries and Honey. Tammy, nice reading you, seeing you. And yeah, hope you guys try these out. They are a lot of fun. Just be go into it as I've mentioned in the past. Go into it knowing that you're going to have some kind of smudgy fingers, and in the handling of your pieces, you're going to be wiping off ink and whatever. I don't know. Just see that as kind of the part of the sloppy kind of I don't know, inky fun. You'll probably be more inky. I get ink on the back of my fingers, on these types of cards. Unlike other kinds, it's all over my fingernails. It washes right off though. So not a problem. Thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Shirley. Uh, Next live, yeah. Can't wait to the next live as well. These are fun to do and always enjoy the interaction. And I learned from you guys too. So, all right. Good night, everyone.